The ultimate Roth conversion strategy while you're still working. Oh man, I've been working on this. I've been working on the Roth gang all the live long day. Sing it, Finny. Finny's been working on the Roth gang just to pass the time away. Hee-ha. All right, so we're going to show you. This is going to be fantastic. We got old Diane Sample again. Diane Sample's always showing up when we need her. And Diane, as you'll see here, is 50 years old. All right, 50. She's going to die. She lives in the state of Georgia. She's going to die when she's 90. All right, so she got 40 years ahead of her, my friends. 40 years. Her hub, named Hub, is also 50, and he's also going to die at 90. All right, my goodness. So 40 years ahead of them. All right, so right now they're still working. Diane makes $100,000. Hub makes $50,000 because we're not misogynist. Is that the right word? We're not patriarchal because they're down with the patriarchy. Down with the patriarchy. So they make $150,000 between them. They're both going to retire when they hit 60 years old. All right, so they got another 10 years of labor ahead of them. Right now they're paying $500 a month for health insurance through their employer. And we're going to assume that keeps on even before they're on Medicare, adjust with a 5.5% inflation. And then once they get on Medicare, they'll pay this, and they'll probably be a little bit cheaper, but we're using that just for giggles here. All right, that looks good. So what did we say? We already said their income. Yeah, we already did. All right, so they got net worth now. Diane's got a million smackaroonies because the husband doesn't contribute anything. He's just sniffing up his nose. So Diane's got all the money, right? Because again, down with the patriarchy. Save the clock tower. Save the clock tower. If you know where Save the Clock Tower is, put it in the show notes because that is one of the best movies of all time. All right, anyway, so we got right here $1 million, and she's got it all in stocks, and it's in her 401k. All right, everybody with me so far? So what we're going to do, we're going to compare two scenarios. One is we're going to have nothing going on. She's just going to keep base her $1 million. She's not going to, I'll show you here. And then the other, we're not doing any Roth conversions. The other is we're going to convert. So everything essentially is going to be in her Roth by the time she's 60 years old and she retires. All right, everybody with me? All right, so let's go over here to cash flow. It'll make sense here in just a second. We're going to go to retirement. And this doesn't matter now because I'll show you why. We're going to hit cash flows. All right, so right here, we got our current plan. She makes $150,000. She's spending $120,000, and we're spending the unused cash flow. All right, so we're just letting it go. We're saying, all right, see ya. We're just spending it on freaking, meth for the husband. All right, so the husband's, smoking meth. Do you smoke meth? I don't know how it works, but whatever. So $150,000 coming in. $86,000 in expenses. That expense includes their housing, property tax, homeowners insurance, their health care, and their day-to-day living expense. And this doesn't matter really, but I'm just showing you so there you can see what about health care. And they pay $34,000 in taxes because you can see federal, state, and FICA. All right, everybody with me? Now, what we're also going to do is we're going to say, no, let's do this instead. We're going to come over here to analysis, and I'm going to show you something. We're going to say, let's convert $125,000 a year, all right, until they're both 60 years old. And then we're going to stop. So we're going to go to cash flows, and we're going to show you something. So now we're going to hit propose plan. And this strategy is so good. You can smell it, dude. Oh, yeah, that smells good. So now we got $150,000, all right, coming in. You got $86,000 expenses, but their taxes went up from, what did we say it was before? It was $34,000. Now it's my freaking calculator. Now it's $71,000, right? Yeah. So their taxes went up by, what's that? $37,000. Yeah, $37,000. So basically, what that means is they converted $125,000, and they pay $37,000 of tax on the $125,000. Should be about a 24%, a 30% effective tax rate. All right, 30% effective tax rate. All right. Well, why would you ever do that? Well, I'm going to show you why. Everybody with me on that? All right. So they again, Pablo, they converted $125,000. Pablo, and it cost them an extra $37,000 in taxes to do it. All right. Everybody with me? Yes, you are. So we're going to keep doing it. You can see right here accounts. And we're going to go right here, net cash flows. They're converting right there. 132 is going out the door. 124 is going into the Roth IRA. All right. Now, you don't have to pay penalty on that, which is fantastic. You can see right here, 125. You can see what's going on to the Roth IRA. Everybody with me? Now, it's not going to be exact to the very penny, so just relax. But anyway, if you go down to the proposed plan, there'll be nothing here. You'll see nothing. There's nothing going on. All right. So now we're going to look at the tax. We're going to see right here. The current plan, effective tax rate. So you got FICA, you got state, and then you got the feds. All right. So the current plan, the effective tax rate is way down here. Not much. I mean, look at that. It's only 5.4%, 6.6%. Right here, not much is their effective tax rate. Now, because they're taking distributions from their pre-tax money and all that, and then they got RMDs and whatnot, and Social Security isn't enough to cover their expenses in retirement, so they got to pull money out. But now if we go over here to proposed plan, watch this. Interesting. So their effective tax rate, this effective tax rate, all right, not marginal tax rate. Their effective tax rate, even with the Roth conversions, is 16%. Interesting. So how did we get that? So let's go over here. Again, this is a difference between marginal and effective, all right? And this is why you're kind of taking advantage of the effective tax rate. You're saying, okay, here's my proposed plan. I got 132,000 of Roth, my IRA distributions, of which 125 is going to the Roth. The reason it's a little bit more than that is because I don't have enough income from my labor to pay the taxes. So essentially, I'm paying a little bit more than I would with a 10% penalty, by the way, because anytime you're using your IRA to pay the taxes before the age of 59 and a half, it's going to be a 10% penalty. I'm not going to get into the very nitty gritty to make this a penny, to go all the way down that deep. I'm just not. But you get the gist of it. So instead of doing 125, we're actually doing 132 because we have a little bit too much expenses relative to how much our Roth conversions are, which means we have to pay taxes from our IRA or 401k, which also is subject to a 10% penalty. So it's not quite perfect, but that's what makes this strategy even better, because if you actually get it down to the details specific, it'd look even better. But anyway, so now their AGI right here is $282,000. They got $31,000 of standard deduction. So their total taxable income is $250,000. You can see that little penalty right there because we went over a little bit, not worried about it. Anyway, you can see your $250,000. So it's costing $46,000 on 282. $46,000 at 282. So we take our trusty calculator, 46 divided by 282, and that gives us an effective tax rate of 16%. That's just the feds. And if we come back here, it's going to be a little bit higher. Our effective tax rate is effective tax rate of 15.8. So you get it. And again, the reason why it's a little bit higher for what I was doing is simply because we got that 10% penalty. But you get the gist right there. 16.6, what I have, we had 16.3. So basically 16.5% is our effective tax rate. But our marginal tax bracket is right there, 24%. And if we go over here to tax strategies, you can see we're just barely going just a little bit into the 24% tax. I mean, it's 22. Yeah, right there. A little bit into the 24%, not much. So you could say, let's just do it to the extent of the 22%. And I get it, 100%. You could do that and make it easier, frankly. Would make it a little bit more difficult, because at the end of the day, I just like $125,000. I'm a simpleton, dude. 125, 125, 125. Even if I go just a little bit to the 24% threshold, doesn't concern me so much. But you could do, I'm just going to do Roth conversions to the extent of the 22% tax bracket. I get it. I just, I'm simple. I'm from Maine, dude. When you're from Maine, you're just a simple guy. It's kind of like being in the Marine Corps. You don't say anything with more than 3 syllables. That's kind of like us in Maine. We just don't say anything more than 3 syllables. All right, so anyway, we go back to tax, but notice the big thing. All right, so here you can see our effective tax rate, our marginal tax bracket, excuse me. This is our original plan where we're not doing any Roth conversions, all right? And you can see we're still in the 22% marginal tax bracket. If we do those Roth conversions, 22 to 24, not that big of a deal. Interesting. But even the proposed plan, we're still in a 10% marginal tax rate, even though we have no taxes to pay, because you're always in a 10% marginal tax bracket, always. The question is, does your standard deduction allow you not to pay taxes on that 10% marginal tax bracket? Anyway, but watch this. And our effective tax, I'm not just do this. Excuse me. Keep going here. We're going to come here. So again, 10% marginal, and watch what happens here. A little bit 12% marginal. You're probably saying not a big deal. Okay, so let's check this out. Let's go to retirement. All right, and what we're going to show you here is we're going to go to retirement details and total spending comparison. The spending comparison should be the same. It is. But our taxes in retirement are $217,000, where our taxes not in retirement, or our taxes with the Roth conversions, are only $55,000. Interesting. So we're paying a lot more taxes in retirement by not doing the Roth conversions. And if we actually go back to cash flows, I'll show you. Go to summary. And you can see here, this is the current plan. We're not doing Roth conversions, and we're still paying $12,000, $13,000, $13,000. This is when Medicare kicks in, so a little bit right here, a little bit less right there. $12,000. This one Social Security kicks in, so a lot less. But we're seeing still paying a lot more taxes. Now, if we go to the proposed plan, watch what happens here. Yeah, a lot more taxes, but then no more at all. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So what does that mean? Well, if we actually go here, because then the question is, well, Josh, what ends up paying more total taxes? Because what I just showed you is just the retirement taxes. Check this out. Unfortunately, we can no longer do the bookmarklet, so we got to download all this stuff into spreadsheets, and you can see this is how our total taxes we pay with the Roth conversion strategy while we're still working. And we're going to end up paying $739,000 in total taxes. All right, total taxes. And that's all in the next basically 10 years. Watch this. If we just spread it out over the course of our lives, we end up paying $786,000 in total taxes. So not only do we save a lot of money in retirement taxes, because once we hit retirement, we're not paying any more taxes. Oh, by the way, will you qualify for Obamacare credits? Well, because remember, we're only 60 years old when we retire. All right, so we got to go back here. And 60 years old when we retire, well, if we have no taxes, what does that mean? I got $102,000 of income. We go to tax, go to details, go to 2032. We're living off, let's see, proposed plan. I can tell you. All right, so here we are in 2036, 2035. I think it's when we retire. Yeah, 2035. So we're working another 10 years. 2036. So look at that. Nothing, because we're living off our Roth. Now, you can make a claim, and I 100% agree with this. You should keep some money in your 401k, because we want to be able to pull from the 401k in which to qualify for Obamacare. And again, we kind of do here. You'll see we still have $115,000 or $21,000. We probably want to keep a little bit more than that, frankly. At the end of the day, though, it's like, because you want to have enough income from your 401k to qualify for Obamacare, and you still want to take advantage of those 1040, or you still want to take advantage of that the standard deduction. In that case, at that stage, is $42,000. I get that. So there's many different ways to kind of skin this cat, but the concept remains the same. But it gets even better. So not only do we save money on taxes, we're going to save significant money on Obamacare as well. All right, that's just a fact. And not only that, we're going to make our Social Security tax-free as well. But watch what happens, though. It gets even better. Let's kill off Hub, because, again, we're always going to say, misogyny, not misogyny. We want to be anti-misogynist, man. Believe all women. We're going to kill him off at 80 years old. Watch this, what happens to tax. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to take a look. Because now we got to worry about the widow's tax trap, you see. Oh, interesting. Kill him off at 80. Still no taxes. Still no taxes. Summary. And a little bit of taxes down here. Not much, a couple $100. Current plan, though. Let's take a look here. Let's see what it looks like. Ooh, look at that big jump right there. There's no widow's tax trap. That's a widow's tax trap. Significant widow's tax trap. Look at that. Jumps up to 22% look at that. Yikes. And then we go over here to retirement, because they're not both going to die at 90, dude. Not gonna. So we go over here to retirement details. Look at that. 240 to 56. So there you go, my friends. Diane is 50 years old. Hubby is 50 years old. They're making good money. you still do some serious Roth conversions in which to get tax-free income for the rest of you. And this is essentially what I did. Now, unfortunately, I did some of this when I was making, I mean, literally, dude, the 2 years after COVID, 2020, 2020, 2021, 2022, was it 2022? Yeah, 2021 and 2022, the money was rolling in. I think everybody online was just making bank because everyone had all this free. And I'm still in the very high income category. I'm not in the 39 point, whatever the hell it is. I'm not, but I'm making good money. But I did Roth conversions then because I was so pissed off at myself for missing in 2020, and I went like a crazy man. I paid a lot more taxes, but now it's all in Roth, dude. And I'm 55 years old. So every day the market goes up, it's just tax free for me, which is wonderful. But with that said, I freaking squandered a lot of money in taxes that I could have saved. But I said, I just want to be tax free for the rest of my life. And once I'm 60 years old, we downsize our house, we live off our Roth, or living off our house. At that stage, at some point, we'll take Social Security. It's all tax free, and then I get killed early because we're gonna fight the patriarchy, and my wife is freaking hanging out with a pool guy. She'll be living tax free as well, and enjoying a nice Latin guy, who's got who looks in her and gives her romantic fuzzy feelings. Like, oh man, I remember what it was like to be young and have a guy that was cute and not like my husband, which is just a simpleton from Maine. This guy has a great Italian. Where's a French accent? Or I don't know what the hell. With tall, dark, and accent, Italian, or what? I don't know what the hell. Some Latin guy. Is that freaking? My wife's got Iberian Peninsula in her, so she'll have her Iberian Peninsula prince to save her from freaking white trash Josh. She'll be loving life, dude. Tax free. There you go. The ultimate Roth strategy. God bless. We'll see you. Smash that like button.